Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to talk about how to read the Addicted / Calloway Sisters series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. So let's just get right into it. So I feel like this series in particular, or both of these series, is kind of confusing to figure out how you should read it. I know I was very confused because there's the Addicted series and then there's the Calloway Sisters series, but they sort of intermix. And personally, I never understand why authors do this. I don't know why you wouldn't just write 10 books and put them all in order in one series, but they didn't do that. So I'm going to walk through which way you should read it and why I think that's the best way to read it. So you could read these series each on their own. You could read the Addicted series from start to finish on its own, and you could read the Calloway Sisters series on its own start to finish and still understand what's going on. Like, you don't need to read both. I will say, if you think you may want to read both, I would read them intermixed. I would not recommend reading one series and then the other, because you will repeat a lot of information and you'll also know what's going to happen, because both series span almost the same amount of time. They're just from different people's perspectives. So you would be sort of already knowing, like, you know, that certain people get together or certain things happen or like whatever. Like, you would already know things that were going on if you read the Addicted books all at once and then the Calloway Sisters books all at once, or the other way around. And so I wouldn't recommend doing that if you are planning on reading both. If you think that you're not going to read them both, then like I said, you can totally just read the Addicted books on their own and go from start to finish and get Lily and Lo's whole story, or you could read the Calloway Sisters and get Rose and Connor and Ryke and Daisy's stories. And so I think that that's like up to you, obviously, if you think you want to read them all. Personally, if I could go back, I would probably just read the Addicted books and maybe one or two of the Calloway Sisters books. I don't know. For me, like, I didn't love the last couple books, so I think it might have been better to just read the Addicted books. There's also, of course, the epilogue novel that then goes at the end, which I think is actually technically part of the Calloway Sisters series, but you could read it at the end of the Addicted series to know where they are anyway, and it would still make sense to you. So the actual, like, chronological, like, reading order for this starts with Addicted to You, which is, of course, the first book, which follows Lily and Lo. And then after that one, you then go to the second Addicted book, which is called Ricochet. And then you follow that one up with the third Addicted book, which is Addicted for Now. And so you read the first three books in the Addicted series first, which I think is good. Like, I feel like that built a good foundation for the characters and knowing who you're dealing with before you started jumping into other people's stories. And so I did enjoy that. I think that that, you know, obviously was a good choice. Then after you read those three books, you move to the first two books in the Calloway Sisters series, which the first one is Kiss the Sky. This is Rose and Connor's first book, and obviously follows their romance, but it's also, I think, takes place during most of the time that you have read the books about Lily and Lo. This one is showing you what basically Rose and Connor were doing during that time. And so that is the first one that you read from the Calloway Sisters series, and then the next one you read is Hothouse Flower, which is Daisy and Ryke's book, which is their, again, first time they are introduced as a couple in that book. And you read those two, and then you jump back to the Addicted series. And this is where I thought things kind of got a little strange, because after you jump back from the Calloway Sisters, the first two books, you're now on to Thrive, which is the fourth book in the Addicted series. And this one, for me, I think was pretty useless in the grand scheme of the series. If you're reading both series, I feel like this one you could almost skip, to be honest, because this one just retells you everything that you read in Kiss the Sky and Hothouse Flower, but from Lily and Lo's perspective. It is the exact same content. There's no extra plot information or anything, really. Like, you get a little bit of, like, snippets, like, here and there of, like, you know, maybe like 3 things that you didn't know in the other books. But if you've already read those two, honestly, I would probably maybe read the last chapter in this book and then just, like, skip it, because the rest is just a repeat of everything you've already read, which for me I just thought was really boring and repetitive. So you may want to consider skipping this one if you're not, you know, someone who wants every little detail, because you're not going to get any new, like, information out of this one. Once you're done that one, then you move on to the fifth book in the Addicted series, which is Addicted After All. This one is, again, back to Lily and Lo, and you're sort of wrapping up their story. This is the last book that follows just them, and so you've bounced back from the sisters to them. And then once you are done that one, then you jump back to the Calloway Sisters series for books 3 and 4 in that series. The third one being Fuel to Fire, which is Rose and Connor's second book, and then you finish with Long Way Down, which is the fourth book in the Calloway Sisters series and is the final book of sort of the regular series. And then of course you have the epilogue book, which is Some Kind of Perfect. And this one, like I said, you could read at the end of either series if you were just reading each series on their own, and just like, you could read it and you'd get it. Like, you don't need to read both series to understand this book. I will say I personally thought this last book was unnecessary, so you may choose to skip this one. I personally would. I thought it was really long and really boring, but that was just me. But hopefully this like explains how to read it. I don't know if this is going to help at all. I will say if you are going to read the Addicted series on its own, definitely read Thrive, because like I said, it sort of fills in where the first two Calloway Sisters books are. So if you're not reading the Calloway Sisters books, you are going to want to read that. But if you're reading them all intermixed, I sort of feel like you could just very easily leave that one out and you would not be missing literally anything. Like I said, maybe skim the last couple chapters because there's like a little piece of information in there that you might want, but you would get it eventually anyway in another book, so it's not super important. But those are just my thoughts on that. But anyway, I hope this was helpful in explaining why you should read these books in that order and how to read them in the right order that works for you. Obviously, everyone's sort of decision is going to be different on this, whether they choose to read the series, you know, on their own or intermixed or just read one series, totally up to you. But that is it for today's video, so thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. I do new book videos every single week, and I will see you next time.